All right, then the program still this morning on ITV on independent television. Now, today, Wednesday, the 7th of June 2023. Now, if not for the intervention of the outgoing Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, meeting the leadership of the trade union and, of course, the NLC over the fuel subsidy removal, that the NLC and the TUC said that by today, they won't have any other thing to do other than to go on strike. But on Monday night, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila had to intervene. And of course, he told the nation that the TUC and the NLC have suspended the strike. And of course, he said that the federal government and these two organizations now, the labor union and the TUC, have, decided to put together a committee that is going to review any possibility of increment in wage of workers, increment in salaries of workers, and also going to see how a framework is going to be implemented on how the realization of the increment is going to take place. Now, what are the issues? When government promises, to what extent does this promise go? And how realizable would this promise be? Those are some of the issues that we're going to be having, some of the points that we're going to be looking at today on the program this morning on ITV. Our very first discussion segment this morning, as we look at State of the Nation, the Nigerian Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress suspends strike, issues in focus. We've got Professor Mrs. Stella Omonigo here, a formidable member of ASU. Of course, ASU is one of the affiliate bodies of the NLC. Madam, you're welcome to the program this morning on ITV.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, viewers at home. Thank you for having me. All
right. So we also invited Comrade Odion Olaye, who is the NLC chairman in Edo State. But for a very busy schedule, he called in this morning to make his apologies that he cannot make it on the show. But subsequently, he promised to come so that he can attend to some of the issues that we're going to be looking at here on the program. Now, Madam, how do we start reacting? you would have gone on strike today if not for the intervention of the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila. So how do we start reacting to all these stories around the fuel subsidy?
Well, you see, Nigerians are no longer surprised by the pronouncement of NLC about the suspension of the strike, because in recent times it has been the trend that they will tell the people, they will raise the hope of the people who are going to fight for you. SY Day will go on a strike if our demands are not met. And then after some minutes or after some day or few days or few hours before the commencement of the strike, they suspend the strike. Meanwhile, the problem will not be addressed. So it's not like it's a new normal in Nigeria that even the trade unions are gagged and they are not able to, to express themselves through the avenues that the labor law have put in place for them to be able to, draw the attention of government to the plight of the people. Now, this is how I see it. First of all, I would like to address our leaders, our union leaders. I'm not here on the capacity of ASU, but I'm here as a member of NLC and as a Nigerian. And I want them to know that they are not representing their own interest, but they should bear in mind that they should be representing the interest of the people who voted them there, because we had faith in them that they could represent our interest. Well, that is on one side. Why do I have to make this statement? Now, the government has come up to say that they want to set up a committee to review to have an upward review of wages across board. Yeah. But the question is, why wouldn't the government wait to set up this committee and let the committee come up with something before implementing the increment, the removal of fuel subsidy? We have established the fact in Nigeria based on what we were told. It's what we are told that we act upon. Based on what we were told, that everybody said, okay, let them remove fuel subsidy. But I felt that before you remove fuel subsidy, you put the people and you put some things in place to cushion you know, the envisaged effect on the people. Now, you are trying to set up a committee. You are yet to set up the committee. The people are already suffering because of the fuel subsidy removal. And you are now thinking of the committee. You are not thinking of the effect on the people. Look, as I was coming this morning, from main gate to this place is now 200, 250. Against 100 naira that we used to. In fact, it was even 50 naira before. Now 250. So that means it's more than 100% increment. It's about 150 increment. Meanwhile, they are still earning the same thing. And don't forget that fuel affects all sectors of life in Nigeria. It will affect the price of commodities. It will affect the price of food. It will affect the price of everything. And the people are still earning the same thing. You are thinking of setting up a committee. So my point is this. Government should have not been in a hurry to take away the fuel subsidy. They should have considered, you know, the increment. They should have set up this committee. The committee will come up with whatever the recommendations, and then they will implement before implementing the removal of fuel subsidy. That is, if they have the interest of the people at heart. But unfortunately, the reverse is the case. Now, second one, I have my fears and my reservation. We have seen over time that in Nigeria, in our country, government promises the people. The people agitate even against, you know, the disappointment of the existing or the ruling class. Meanwhile, nothing is done. They ignore the people. They keep promising and nothing is done about it. And I will give you examples. Of course, you know the examples I'm going to cite. Or you may wonder the examples I'm going to cite. In 2009, the Academic Staff Union of Universities agitated concerning their remuneration. In 2009, government promised an increment. 14 years later, we are still dragging the implementation of the 2009 agreement. We are not talking, don't forget that there had been inflation. The inflation rate had increased over time. We are not talking about things, commodity prices that have gone up, you know, between 2009 and now. We are still dragging, we are still pleading with government to implement their promises to us 14 years ago. Now they have made that. So every day they make new promises. I want to give the new government the benefit of the doubt. That, well, Oga Tinubu, you are welcome. Your wife has told us that you don't need the wealth of Nigerians to make yourself better. And we are happy, we are looking forward to it. But we just so shocking that your welcome package to us was, you know, this removal of fuel subsidy without recourse to the effect it will have on the people.
Okay, Professor, now, most Nigerians share your opinion too, that the welcoming package that Mr. President gave to Nigerians is a fair subsidy. Perhaps Nigerians also need to be reminded that we're actually not looking at something new. We're talking about a bill that was passed into law. Remember the petroleum industry bill?
Yes.
You know, that the essence of it was this fair subsidy. That bill was passed into law in 2022, this 2023. Now, it stipulates that 6 months after the passage of that bill into law, the fair subsidy removal is supposed to be in effect. Now, let's try to look at all this, even as we try to condemn.
No, we're not condemning here. I want us, get me correctly, and I want you to get my point very clearly this morning. We are not against removal of fuel subsidy, underlined. We are saying that the timing might be wrong. Why do I talk about the timing? The timing is that they should have put in place, if you know, things, palliatives to cushion the effect on the people. Let me give an example. You're going to remove the fuel subsidy. So they knew right from time, even before 2022, before it was passed into law, they knew. You know, they had been saying it. It's not a new topic, like you said. Now, we thought that by now they will have put in place alternative means of transportation for the people. Let me give you an example. I said something, you know, when I had a speech, you know, at the government house a few days ago. I said, when we want to copy the Western world, we should copy them completely. You are copying them by removing fuel subsidy. That's fine. in the Western world or in other developed countries, they have tramway at subsidized prices. They have buses. They have bus lanes. They have things, you know, they have a system. So what I'm trying to say that the government should have put in place a system, a working system, tried and tested, to see that the people will not, you know, will not suffer so much before they will not be thinking of removal of fuel subsidy. You know, last week I was on radio and I said something and I will repeat it now. The money government was pumping into fuel subsidy, please, where is it? Because I thought that before removing this fuel subsidy, you know, finally, I told we need to be proactive. We shouldn't be reactive. And government should not make it look as if people are always complaining about them or people don't appreciate their effort. No. And let me tell you, it is constitutional. It is in the Nigerian constitution for the government to provide for the welfare and the well-being of the citizens. And I do not think that this is to our well-being when wages remain the same and then the cost of living is astronomical.
Okay, now you talked about wages now. Let me take our minds back to the NLC and the TUC.
Yes.
I mean, for them to be reacting now. Now, some opinions, you know, making the rounds now is that perhaps some persons are not proactive enough. I mean, a petroleum industry bill was signed into law. Some trade organizations, if you like, the TUC and the NLC, would have thought of the implication that what happens to my workers when this bill becomes effective, the way that Mr. President has pronounced it now. So don't you think that the NLC probably, as at the time the bill was passed into law, would have also asked the questions, how do we make a preparation for the adverse effects of that law when it comes into effect?
No, it's quite unfortunate that things are turning this way. I'm not going to talk against the trade unions. I'm just going to give advice, maybe the speculation of the people, because we're in a democratic country. Now, this is how I see it. I'm not going to say categorically that they were not proactive. Let me give an example. In my union, for example, they envisaged 3 years, you know, review of wages. 3 years. So every 3 years, they are supposed to review wages since 2009. And I'm telling you that the wages we're earning before 2009 is what we are still earning in 2023. So the promise for increment in 2009 had not been implemented. The promise for review, for every 3 years review, had not been implemented. You keep promising the people will get tired. And then when the unions want to act, and that is where I'm going to again, when the unions now come, you know, call you for negotiation, sometimes you tell them that you don't want to talk with them. And then when they now, you know, pronounce strike, that, yeah, we are going on strike, few hours to the strike, you call them to the negotiating table, and then you go to the judiciary because you have the yam, the knife, the oil and everything, and you gouge the people. The next thing you come up with court injunction that the people should not go on strike. Now, this is it. If you are leading as a leader and your people are not happy, to what extent is your leadership? And I thought that with the past administration, the new regime would have felt the venom of the people, especially during the general elections, and they would have tried as much as possible, at least to give people the benefit of the doubt that, look, just like Tinubu said during his campaign, he said he will hit the ground running. Let us see that you are ready to hit the ground running by protecting the interest of the people. I don't think it's a new thing to say that, and I don't think it's a fallacy to say that Nigerians have been, an average Nigerian, the masses have been suffering, you know. And now, instead of us to heave a sigh of relief that we have a father figure again, you know, that would understand the plight of the people, it is not as if it is from fry pan to fire. Because you can't expect me. Let me give an example. I bought fuel, 24,000 naira, not up to half tank, against the 12,000 naira fuel I used to use for a week.
We all know the effects of
fuel. Hold on. Now I have to go to work. No. 24,000 naira a week times 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's
the money is finished. How much is the salary?
Yeah, that's why.
And let me tell you, now this is what I see. I see a lot of hostility in the society. I see a lot of transferred aggression in the society. Let me tell you, we are in for a ride if nothing is happening, if nothing happens soon. So the point I'm trying to make is that TUC, NLC shouldn't, just relax or just accept, this proposal of the committee just like that. You understand? Like what we do in ASU. When you go to the negotiation table, before you suspend the strike, you go back to the people who voted you there, who sent you, because you are not there just as the boss. You go there, you say, this is the proposal of government. Do you agree or not?
Yeah.
And then we take a referendum. And then people will start making their, they will make a kind of adjustment and modification.
Professor, the point is that just like what Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila said, that a committee has been constituted now. Now, a while ago, you also said that let's give the government benefits of the doubt. I mean, this is a government that is just a week old or thereabout now in office. We understand that the whole issue of fuel has to do with the exclusive list and all that. So it's more of a federal government issue. But let's come down to states now, state governments now. You talked about outside other nations of the world, the US, UK, the Britain and all that. Most of those things you mentioned are necessarily not provided for by the federal government. State governments, county councils. In the UK, you are very much aware with the UK now, county councils, provide some of those things. So let us begin to look at alternative ways now. State governments trying to ameliorate some of the sufferings. Because whether we like it or not, the fuel subsidy may have come to stay. So how do we begin to talk to state governors, state governments, in trying to make an effort in all this situation?
I don't know. I cannot force my will on governments. I don't even know whether they are listening to us this morning.
They are.
But my point is this. The point I'm trying to make is this. You can do whatever you want to do, but you put things in place before you implement. Let me tell you, what I saw that day of the inauguration, when our president, pronounced, was a kind of, I don't want to use the word careless.
Let us know.
NLC used the word careless.
Mr. President said,
you know what? You're just being sworn into an office.
Professor,
you're just being sworn into an office. No, I'm not repeating that word. You are just being sworn into an office. And then you have not had any meetings. You've not had any meetings, strategic meetings. Let's assume that you have things in mind. You've not had any strategic meetings with stakeholders, with people in charge to say, okay, the first thing I'm going to do as I get into office is to implement the removal of fuel subsidy. Now, what do we do and how do we go about it? That is how it's supposed to be. Now on the floor of inauguration, you announce it, and immediately, let me tell you, immediately, what I'm saying is that he may have good intentions. Yeah. But you see, you are dealing with people who know how the system works. Immediately he said it. In fact, before the end of the inauguration, filling stations shut down.
Okay, let's come back to my question now, Professor.
And then you don't have task force to make them, and the next day, they implemented it.
Yeah, let's look at states now. Let's come back to my question. Now, let's look at states, because
now talking about states.
Professor, just hold on. Nigerians are looking at alternative ways, because whether we like it or not, Nigeria is still in progress. We must get it right. So all hands must be on deck. Now, let's look at alternative ways now. What can be done alternatively? Okay. State governors, local governments, local governments and all that, how we can begin to contribute.
No, that's fine. Now, first of all, don't forget that state governors or states are products of the federal. Now, it's based on... hold on. It's based on... Hold on, I'm trying to...
They are governments of...
Just calm down, okay? They act based on their resources. They act based on their allocations. They act based on what is on ground. I want to thank our governor, because I saw a publication yesterday, a government who is considerate, a government that is considerate to the plight of the people. I saw that our state government is trying to reduce the number of work days from 5 to 3.
But don't that have implications?
No, hold on.
Implications
hold on. When I saw it, I said, what will be the implication on the economy? And then I saw something like they are going to try as much as possible to put in all the things they have been rehearsing, because for some time now in our state we have been rehearsing, you know, this technology about going virtual and everything. They have their implications, but now it is time for people to weigh the options. Do you understand? To weigh the options, because like I said, if you want to copy the Western world, just copy them. In the Western world, apart from putting things in place to make sure that people are comfortable, they also go, they are also hybrid. You can work from home if it's not comfortable for you to be at work physically. So if you want to copy them, let them bring it and let us see how it will work.
Okay,
because let me tell you, you have the implication of also staying at home. Because you have to, the mere fact that you're at home does not mean that you will not be doing your work. And there will be monitoring bodies put in place to make sure that people are doing their work, that they are online, they are supposed to, you know, supply their services at demanded. But apart from that, talking about state government also, now some states are owing. I don't want to talk about our own governor here in Edo State, because he is doing his best. You know, for some time now, he has been trying as much as possible to put the interest of the people, you know, first, and I thank him for that. Now, other states, or it's not uhuru in other states. You have some states who are owing backlog of salaries. We have some states who are owing pensioners. We have so many challenges in so many states. They were trying to fix those challenges in the states. Now the challenge of transportation has come in. So the problem is, you know, enormous, and sometimes it's overwhelming for those in government, especially those who are not in the ruling political party. Yeah. You know, it becomes so overwhelming for them, and I feel for them. But this is what I want to say, talking about alternative. You can talk about alternative based on what you have.
Okay, let's talk more on that alternative now. Just like what we said, that Edo State government seems to be taking the lead now.
Yes.
Reducing from 5 working days to 3 working days. Yes. Even if some analysts are looking at the implication of it now. Yes. Now, little wonder whether a state governor really has the right, because I saw the communique that you saw too. Yes. Directing the civil servants to work 3 times a week. Yes. Instead of 5 weeks. Also directing private sectors. Yes. Now, does the state government really have the power? Because private employers, they specify how their workers come to work. So can we really, to what extent can that directive really be? No,
for private workers, you also have bodies that govern them, you have rules that govern them. And they try as much as possible to make, to synergize between what is happening in the public sector and the private sector. So that one is aside. But concerning the power or the authority of the state government to make such pronouncements, you just said, earlier that, state governments need to start thinking of how, to ameliorate the standard of living of the people. Yeah. And I see it as being proactive on the part of our governor. And I know that before our governor made such a declaration, he would have consulted. You don't just wake up and just write memos like that. I'm just speculating. He would have consulted largely with his team to be able to come up with such. And let me tell you, we may not know how good it is or how bad it is until we test run it. So I feel that they could put things in place. Like he said they will give us modalities of how this would be put in place. Let's see how it will go. But I say it also as another form of revolution. If other states take same, and then maybe it has adverse effects on the economy, it will force the federal government to have a rethink and to revisit the plight of the people on their declaration concerning the removal of subsidy. And I want to tell you, I think the government should allow the system run the way it should be. Now, the aim of trade unions is to be able to checkmate the excesses of the authority of government on the people. It's also to represent and to give government the feedback of the people. That is why you have trade unions. But by the time you are gauging trade union, you are choking trade unions, you are depriving them of what labor law, what is stated in labor law, you are depriving them of it.
No, hold on.
Through the judiciary, then there is a problem.
As far as this is
I want to give an analogy.
If you're trying to make records to the, as it relates to this strike now, the chef strike, if you're trying to make records to the industrial courts issue,
yes,
how the federal government went to the courts and all that.
Yes.
Now, the federal government has a responsibility to always seek the courts whenever it has to. Then also, for the trade union, they also have the responsibility to also give back their own contribution. I mean, it's actually an agreement between the federal government and the TUC. There's a work agreement that you work for 30 days, I pay you for that 30 days. For somebody to, for a party to want to breach...
No. Let me correct you on something.
Yeah.
For there to be justice, there must be balance.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You see that.
That's
Hold on.
so
That's why you see that
now,
in the court of law, you see, you know, their symbol. It's symbol of balance. You know, a kind of balance. And so therefore, there to be justice, there must be balance.
Yeah,
but by the time one is up and one is down,
so
let me give an
example.
example. You check it out.
Yeah.
You check it out. ASU, you know, came out to say that we are not happy that you have not implemented and you have not attended to the agreement, gentleman agreement, according to UKWA. Agreement is agreement. You know, you've not attended to it for so many years. Now we are going on strike. Just implement first before we call up the strike. And then he said, no, go back to work. When you go back to work, we will implement or we look into it.
Yeah, because there is an agreement now between
I'm saying now. There was an agreement.
If you don't work for me, I won't pay you.
No, hold on. But we have things stated in the labor law. We have laws. Let me tell you, we have laws governing some of these things. I think what we need to do now is to bring the labor law, you know, to everybody to see, unless they have changed it. Now, because you talk about dialogue. After dialoguing, you know, and negotiation, if it's not going, you have the right to go on strike. Now, you now went to the court and brought a court injunction that we should go back to work, which all of us did. Now, we went back to work. The 8.5 months salary, during that, you refused to pay us. Meanwhile, we had done the work. We did the work. Because the period we did not teach, we had to effect them. Most universities now run 2 sessions in a year. That's an aside. So that I don't lose my line of thoughts. No, I'm just trying to tell you. Yeah. It's the same thing with this TUC and NLC something. NLC is put there to represent the interest of the people. Now, let me tell you, I want to actually challenge Comrade Adams Oshomole. He was once an NLC president. And during this removal of fuel subsidy, we all queued behind him. And even some of the people in government now were those at the forefront of the protest and of the strike when in 2015 this person, what was his name, Goodluck Jonathan, attempted to remove fuel subsidy. Now, so what has changed? Let me tell you, when you keep charging the people,
Professor, let's get something right now. We understand that Adams Oshomole was part of the meeting that the federal government had with NLC and the TUC, but that meeting had a leadership. That is what Femi Gbajabiamila did. He came, he told Nigerians the outcome of the meeting. So let us try to calm down.
Wait, we'll calm down. But let me give an analogy.
Into it now. Adams Oshomole granted that he was NSC leader at the time. So let us not give it away.
This is what I see. You have been eating ice fish since. In fact, you have been eating rotten ice fish for a long time. And all of a sudden, they said, okay, don't eat ice fish again. Let me give you turkey and give you chicken. Will you want them to remove the chicken from your mouth? Immediately, you forget the people with which you were eating the ice fish. Now you are joining the people eating turkey. Now you talk about, when you see the people eating ice fish, say, no, don't worry. Very soon, this your ice fish will change. Don't worry. Stop complaining. You're always complaining about this ice fish. You should be grateful for this ice fish. Meanwhile, you were dead before.
All right, now, Professor, Professor.
You're dodging me.
Professor, the way we're going now, you know, one thing that some viewers may agree with us here now, that the character of NLC has always disposed a revolutionary character. I mean, To what extent can we go?
See, let me tell
when
you,
we have issues, we're supposed to be
revolution did not start
dialoguing.
today. Please let us get it right. Revolution did not start today, and it did not start in Nigeria, and it will not end in Nigeria. As we speak now, Senegal is burning. Because
Senegal is just only some part of Senegal. It's only some part of Senegal that they are having some issues there. The whole of Senegal is not burning.
Mr. Evans, you know what? I know you're trying to do your job.
But we must put things
But I
in the
also
right
want, let me tell you,
now,
when we say Senegal is burning, whether it's a part of Senegal or not, people are protesting, okay? Now, and what is the protest about? It is because they are unsatisfied with the elections and the situations.
Yeah.
Now, that's why I just want to make you know that it's not today that we didn't start revolution and we will not end revolution. In fact, Marxism is about the welfare of the people and the revolution of the people against the existing government. And Marxism has been for years, for decades, for centuries, not today. So I want us to be clear about that. And when people agitate, and it has been in place, in fact, posterity put it, or nature put it, is a mechanism for the people to be able to express themselves, to draw the attention of government, to listen. But now you want to avoid revolution in Nigeria. We are not disputing that. When you try to block every avenue of getting feedback from people, every avenue of people expressing themselves, this is how it is. It is like, you know, water. Water, you are trying to put river, you know, in a container. A river in a container, you are trying to, I don't know, it's natural for river to flow. Yeah. Now you say, no, you cannot flow out of this place. It has to be in this room. Tell me what will be. It comes out from here, you block it. It comes out from here, you block it. You know what happens? After some time, it will come out in several places that you will not be able to. It's scientific. It's a scientific something. So it's law of nature. By the time you keep guarding the people, at a time they will explode. They will say, you know what? All die and I die. We die here. That's what I'm telling you. I'm not saying that we die, but my point is this. Now that we have a new government, let me tell you, don't forget that NSAS started like a joke. I'm not saying that there will be another NSAS, but my point is, now that we have a new government in place, listen to the people. Now, you people that have been in government for a long time, Femi Gbajabiamila, let me tell you, Femi Gbajabiamila was the one who cajoled ASU and said, I will take responsibility. I'm telling you, we need people of integrity, people that will say something and they will stand by their words, people that will take responsibility for their words and their actions. This same Femi Gbajabiamila that they are put again to talk to TUC and NLC to suspend the strike was the one who came out. TUC, listen, and then NLC, listen. He came out to say that he was going to take responsibility for government and he will ensure that they paid us our backlog salaries, our withheld salaries. He will make sure that everything was implemented. You know, he talked to ASU nicely and everything, and ASU called off the strike. Today, as I speak to you, Nigerians that are watching, the salary we're earning in 2009, I'm a professor. If I open my mouth to tell you, my salary is just a little above 300,000. In a country like this. Meanwhile, my expenses have been growing from time to time. You are changing it and everything. I appeal to government, if they are listening to us. Since you don't want people to speak, can you please help us listen to the plight of the people? Not telling us that whether you protest or not, I will remove fuel subsidy.
Nobody is saying that now. It's just that I'm not speaking for the government. I'm not trying to protect the interest of the government, but we must say things in the right perspective. It's just that the government is only trying to actualize a bill that has been signed into law. So that's it. So long as there's a law in Nigeria, it must be followed. We understand that the effects of the fuel subsidy removal are very, very painful. I feel the same pain too. I mean, some persons couldn't take their car home after work 2 days ago because of the difference in price and all that. We understand. But I think what we actually need to do is to listen to each other. I mean, let the federal government listen to the TUC and the NLC, just like what you have said here, and also let the TUC and the NLC also listen to government. Femi Gbajabiamila has said that a committee, has been set up. Now, that committee is going to look at the possible ways of of how wages and salaries are going to be increased. So the 30% minimum wage thing is no more in place, so to say. So it seems that in the next few months now, Nigerians are going to be talking about new salary scale, new wages and all that. So let's give the benefits of the doubt to the present government. Don't you think so, Professor?
Now, well, we're talking about increment. I just feel that the increment should be proportional to the percentage of this fuel subsidy removal. Yeah. Let me give an example. You moved fuel from 187 to 511. Most people are selling for 550. Now, what is the percentage? The increment must be proportional to that increment also in fuel. So if it is by 200%, you increase wages by 200%. That is logical. And let me tell you, I think we've got to a point where our trade unions should say, you know what, yes, you're a political leader, you're a political representative, and we thank you, but let there be a neutral person, somebody that is not eating chicken and turkey with you. Somebody that is eating ice fish should be in the committee and even chair the committee so that we will know how the people feel. Now, let me tell you, one thing is to set up a committee. One thing is to bring out recommendation. Another thing is to implement. How long will they use? Will they use in setting this committee? Why didn't they set up the committee before removal of first subsidy? We're not talking about that. But Badamiala, since you want to set up committee, set up the committee today. People are dying.
The committee has already been set up.
Hold on, and let them start work immediately. Give them terms of reference and the time limit. And the recommendations should be implemented as soon as possible. It's not something that I say, it will go to this, it will go to this, and then 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, Nigerians will not, we know how to adapt a lot. We just adapt, saying this, they've accepted it, let's move forward. They hit us again.
All right, so I want to say a very big thank you to Professor Mrs. Stella Obonigo, a professor of African literature, and of course a lecturer with the Department of Foreign Languages, University of Benin, a formidable member of ASU Uniben chapter, a very strong character of a woman she is. We leave things there, and we just hope that the authorities can really listen to Nigerians so that our plight can really be ameliorated. The effects of the fuel subsidy removal can really be ameliorated so that we can live a normal life. Professor, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you once again for having me, and Nigerians, it shall be well.
All right, now, so let's join Dominique Yemese now in Abuja on other segments of the show. Please stay tuned.